Morning everyone, today is day 55. I'm in Passau. I've just walked down to the point where there's the confluence of the three rivers, seen the sun come up a little bit. You can just sort of see it peeking through in the background there. Absolutely beautiful. I haven't got long enough to stand though because I've got to go and get a bus and go back to my start point. Today the plan is pretty simple. Run to 20 miles, see how I feel. If I feel like there's more miles in the legs, do more. If not, stop. And then basically the more I do, the less I have to do tomorrow on what would have been the rest day that I banked. So that's basically the plan. At the end of all of that, I'm going to get to see my family, which I just can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be it's such a difference to have them out here. I mean, I just haven't seen some of them for the whole time, and it's almost quite surreal that they're going to be here because I've done this journey mostly alone. It's going to feel very strange in some ways that they're going to be here. I can't quite believe they are coming, but I'm looking forward to it. So that's my carrot today. That's my motivation today. Get this run done, and then they'll be here. And this morning, up earlier, because it's basically about 5 to 6 at the moment. Legs are a little bit stiff, a few creaking tendons. It's sort of bottom Achilles on both, on the inside of that. Yeah, just they're grumbling a little more day by day, but I'm hoping that I'm sort of managing it okay. Today's obviously the last day I have to run with the pack, so that should hopefully help once I'm through that, take a bit of weight and pressure off. And obviously tomorrow we'll get a bit of a shorter day if I can do the miles today. So lots of positives. I'm feeling strong. I'm a bit sad to leave Passau I'd love to have spent more time here. It's an absolutely beautiful town. I'm not sure if it's a town or a city, but it's absolutely beautiful anyway, whichever it is. And yeah, definitely a place that I would be keen to come back and visit again. But now we're off on our travels into Germany. Please, Germany, please make the routes beautiful. At least just cycle paths, or just not too much roads or craziness, and don't close any more bridges or there'll be trouble. All right, anyway, I better make my way to the bus station. Got to do some navigation first, hop on a bus, and then we'll get running.
I'm somewhere in the middle, try to find myself again, but life is one big riddle of the future and what's been. Guess it's the way it goes, and I will never know why you let me go. Look to the left, look to the right, nothing can stop me in the night, like I am leaving all the bad stuff and trying to remain so strong. I know it's good if I'm alone. I gotta go, running to better times. Go, from my emotions I'll go, running to better times, 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 to better times.
So today's run I want to dedicate to Pat. Now I met Pat, I think it must be about 5 years ago. It might be slightly longer. We met through work. Pat is one of the best, most creative filmmakers I know, I've kind of worked with ever. Just really understands kind of how to tell a brilliant story, particularly in and around kind of endurance and the effort. But we've become friends since, and not only that, we've basically sort of forged a friendship through adventure and through running and through testing ourselves, and just a passion for getting out there and doing stuff that's a bit wild and a bit different. And Pat actually has been there on some of the biggest adventures that I've been on. So when we ran the Thames from source to sea, 190 miles over 3 days, Pat came along and he's kind of filmed it, but also became kind of like part crew. So he'd pop up along the way with water, and he'd sort of jump out of a bush somewhere with a blue jacket with his camera, and we would never really know where he was going to arrive. But on that run, and that was a kind of precursor to me doing this run, you know, if I don't do that run and understand how all of that works and realize I have the endurance to do it, then I probably don't end up here doing this one. And Pat's input was invaluable. He drove us to the start and stop. He was, you know, he was just a massive support along the way. Later on, Pat and I went out and we ran around the Isle of Wight in 2 days. I think it was 70 miles. We did a bit of wild camping there. Pat packs on, again, very, very similar to what I'm doing now, and he joined me for that. And that was an experience that also gave me the confidence to come and do this. And he's just really sort of been there throughout. And from the moment I started talking about this adventure, he's been one of the best kind of counsels for me to turn to for advice, for motivation, for, you know, sensible, solid tips. He's grounding me, you know, and he's called me throughout this, talked to me on WhatsApp, and he's just been a really, really good person to go to. He's been a mate, basically. He's listened intently to my grumbles and my whinges and my moans through this. He's just basically let me kind of spill when I needed to, and he's been a huge, huge support. He's an absolutely lovely, lovely bloke, kindest bloke, you know, you'll find. And yeah, I've enjoyed working with him. I'm very happy to call him my friend now, and I'm really grateful for everything that he's done to help me along this adventure. So Pat, these miles are for you, mate.
Remember I was laughing in all the photos that you took, but now it looks like acting, like we were fiction in a book. Guess it's the way it goes, and I will never know why you let me go. Look to the left, look to the right, nothing can stop me in the night, like I am leaving all the bad stuff and trying to remain so strong. I know it's good if I'm wrong. I got it, I gotta go, running to better times. Go, from my emotions. I'll go, running to better times, 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 to better times. I look to the left, look to the right, nothing can stop me, nothing can stop me in the night. Look to the left, look to the right, nothing can stop me in the night, like I am leaving all the bad stuff. Go, running to better times. Go, from my emotions. I'll go, running to better times, 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 to better times.
So then, update from day 55. Well, the run went according to plan, really. And yeah, I managed to get the bus out there this morning fairly easy. Not too much of a hassle. Was started by 7 o'clock in the morning, which was great. And then I was a little tired. I think, you know, the mornings now I'm realising there's a lot more kind of creakiness generally in the legs. And I had this feeling, you know, that I've spoken about before, where this morning I felt sort of slightly empty. I didn't really get a proper breakfast. I only had a croissant that I bought from a bakery the night before. And I'm realising that's not really enough food. So I kind of ran, it was a little bit of a struggle, a little bit of an under-fueled kind of struggle this morning, until probably about 8 miles. I ran into a little town. I went into a bakery, got some more food, had a coffee and a big kind of fizzy apple juice. And I sat and actually talked to a German cycle tourist for a little bit, maybe spent about 20 minutes there. And the combination of the food and the conversation, having done sort of nearly 10 miles and a little bit of rest, after that, I ran really well. And then actually we sort of hit, you know, much of today was really quite pleasant on these wide kind of cycle paths that they almost look like an A road, you know, country lane, not an A road, a country lane kind of, you know, country road in the UK, that kind of width. But you're kind of, there are no cars on it, you're sort of close to the river. And they just went on for miles and miles, often cutting past kind of wheat fields and bits and pieces. Occasionally you sort of turned onto dyke roads, or ran up on the dyke as well. It was fairly samey, but it was really nice and green. And I guess this time it was a little bit more undulating as well. There was a little bit more rolling. So, you know, nothing that would, you know, be terrible in terms of hills, but there were just a few bits and pieces where on the ups and the downs, I have to be sort of very careful not to push too hard, just because it changes the way my feet land. And I'm so used to running kind of basically long, straight flats that, particularly on the downs, I have to take care. Often if it goes on for more than kind of 20 meters, I walk it, just because you can't afford to really take risks with landing differently. And at this stage in the game, you know, it's not worth it really. Just wander down them, even on the ups, because of the quad problem I had earlier. If I can feel a little bit of strain on that, I'll sort of stroll those as well and take it easy. And yeah, I got to 20 feeling comfortable, and really I eventually reached a town where I could have stopped at, I think 24 miles would have been the point at which I could have stepped off. And I had a choice to make about whether or not I stepped off or carried on and made it into the full sort of 30 miles and made it all the way to Deggendorf. And yeah, I basically just decided to do that, essentially. Just took the last 6 miles, got very hot towards the end, had very little water, and it started to feel like I'd made a sort of wrong decision, but eventually sort of made it in there without too much problem. I took my time, really, walked some bits, you know, ran some bits, and I knew that at the end of all of that I was going to get to see the family, so that was a huge draw. And it also means that I've still got a day in the bank, basically. So I've got 1 day over. I left that run still feeling like my legs had more in them, which is a great way to finish. You know, I wasn't totally spent. I was kind of dehydrated a little bit, but I've sort of pulled that back. But in terms of actual kind of muscles and ligaments and all those kind of things that really matter when you're going day to day, I felt good at the end. I could have wandered around a bit further. And yeah, I think actually the first day in Germany has been beautiful scenery. I mean, just good running. I had a fear that it might be a little bit sort of next to roads and I might be landed actually running on roads, but that hasn't been the case. So if it continues like this, where you've got these paths that are just runnable, you're surrounded by green, you know, often you're close to the river, then the rest of this will be fantastic. And now I'm with my family, which has been amazing. You know, I got to give my son a massive hug. I haven't seen him for 3.5 weeks, and that was a very special moment to see my wife. And now I've got crew here, so I've got company, and we've got a place that we're staying in, which means we've got a base. I've got restocked refuel, resupply, so I've got all of my kind of favourite stuff to eat. Again, 33 fuel, I've got precision hydration salts, I've got cubes and gels, I've got some protein powder for recovery from Vela Forte. I've got all the things that I need to eat, plus a fridge full of actual food that is sort of a bit more nutrient rich than having to go out and sort of scrabble for bits and pieces in restaurants and supermarkets as well. I can actually cook is what I'm basically getting to. I've got, you know, I can make meals and stuff that are going to give me a bit more power and have better breakfasts. So, you know, we're at a point now where I've got more stacked in my favour than I had before now, than earlier in the run, for at least 7 days anyway. And yeah, tomorrow I run. Ray is arriving tonight as well. My friend Ray, he's going to come and run with me for 3 days. So that's going to be another boost. And essentially, basically, it's going to work out like an average of 30 miles a day to do now for the next 12 or 13 days. And that is manageable. I can even out those distances. Some days if I want to take a bit of more of a chunk out of it, I can, and then shorten the next days. So I've got options now as well with the crew. So we're in a really good place. It's just now about managing the body, basically, I think, you know, and being sensible, keeping the focus, no heroics, because I'm not running with a pack, just no ego, just steady, you know, to land this thing now, nothing crazy. And fingers crossed, I mean, again, I sort of said this a couple videos back, but if you'd have said to me 12 or 13 runs to go, that I'd be feeling the way I do, I would have accepted it back on day one of this. So yeah, feeling strong, feeling good, and yeah, looking forward to spending time with my family. And you know, every day I've got something to to aim at, to run to, because I can, after that I can come back and spend time with my little boy and do all of that. So yeah, that's it. I will update you again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go from Deggendorf to Straubing. Name's gone out of my head. I'm tired now. But yeah, maybe a little bit further. Maybe we'll knock on to 30. But tomorrow we go again.